keep my comments very short now, and only on 2 points. The first one is on new clause 1, the voter ID. Others have spoken very movingly, both in evidence to the Bill Committee and also in passing this evening, on the impact of voter fraud and the need to take reasonable steps to minimise it. So the first part of that is voter ID, which I'm fully in support of what the government suggests in terms of photographic ID. But the second part of that, for it to be effective, is to have prosecution where evidence is established that a crime has been committed. And much of the evidence that we heard was frustration that the police or the Electoral Commission did not take allegations of fraud sufficiently seriously and bring them in front of a tribunal. And that does bring me to clause 12 of the bill, which deals with the Electoral Commission's power or assumed power to become a prosecuting body in their own right. I'm very glad that the government is taking this opportunity to re-establish the status quo, which is that the police and the CPS should be the relevant prosecuting authority, in part because of the obvious conflicts of interest, where the Electoral Commission is the body that provides advice and guidance on electoral law. If they were then to take their regulatory hat off and then put on their prosecuting hat, there is a clear conflict of interest because they'd be marking their own homework. But there's a wider point about the prosecution of crimes in this country, and it's one that's been picked up by the Law Commission recently, and that is a move away from what are described as private prosecutions. So that would be the Post Office. We only have to mention the Horizon scandal to see why it's clearly wrong for the Post Office to be their own prosecuting authority. And in my submission, the Care Quality Commission as well, which I know the Law Commission is looking at, being its own prosecuting authority, moving the power of prosecution, the responsibility of prosecution, away from these private prosecuting bodies to the CPS and then the police. But if there's one message I would like the Minister to take away and think really seriously about, it's all fine and well in this place for us to make the laws, but if they are not taken seriously and investigated seriously by the police, leading to prosecutions where evidence passes the evidential test, then we're on a hiding to nothing. And a lot of the evidence that came out in the evidence sessions of the Bill Committee and the experience on these benches on both sides of the House is that a huge degree of frustration that allegations of electoral fraud were not taken seriously by the police. They seemed to be embarrassed and didn't want to get into what was seemingly a political area, rather than realising how incredibly important the full implementation of our electoral rules and our defence of democracy requires the police to take these very, very seriously. The only other point I've got time to mention is new clause 17, which has been put forward by the Honourable Member for Hinckley and Bosworth, and I'm proud to say it has my name associated with it. This is a very sensible motion. I know it's a probing motion only, but I do support the intention behind this clause, where personal security of candidates, electoral candidates, no matter what their political colour, it's all too relevant in the modern era. And whilst we want to encourage participation, we always talk about participation, electoral participation, but also that amongst candidates, we should be taking steps to remove any barrier to people saying, yeah, I'm going to get involved, I'm going to be a candidate. And the proposal would still demonstrate locality, but would protect candidates from having that Hobson's choice of either being outside the constituency, albeit by 100 yards, or having to display their full postal address. So I would be very grateful if the government could take away that point and have a think about it. This is a strong bill. It's taking thorny issues head-on and dealing with important issues, and I fully support it.